Betty. There you go.
Wait for a signal. We're good to go. On page 178, we have page 78, I should say, we have Psalm 150, and we'll be singing the last few lines, so if you know it, please join us. And to fully open our service on page 46, we sing Hine Matov, how good and how pleasant it is that brothers and sisters dwell together. So dwell with us in song. Hine Matov u'manai, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov u'manai, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov, la 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 la. Hine Matov, la 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 la.
Good Shabbos. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. I'm really excited about tonight. And one reason to be excited about tonight is the gentleman over there. Yeah, you, Stan. Our guest musician tonight, Stan Kessler. I've known Stan since my jazz commission days, which is a lifetime ago, late 80s, early 90s. You can get on his website and read more about him because there's so much more to read and we only have an hour for the service. But I'll simply say this, that what I learned early on in my time with the Jazz Commission, and I learned about Kansas City Jazz, is our musicians compared to anybody anywhere in the world, and we're just fortunate enough that a certain number of musicians decided to make Kansas City home and not run off to New York or elsewhere. And Stan is the best of the best. He represents all good things about, I think just to say Kansas City Jazz is limiting because you do more than that. But certainly Kansas City Jazz, you work with Flat Five, Sons of Brazil, Stan Kessler Television. So many different varieties of wonderful music. And as we like to say in our business, Stan's a mensch. So I am thrilled and excited, honored that he's going to be playing with our wonderful musicians this evening. And another reason to be excited about tonight is somebody who's feels like has always been a member of our community, but it became official this week. Jane Larison is officially part of B'nai Yisrael, part of the Jewish people. So Jane, if you would you come up to light Shabbos candles for us? The blessing is on page 224. This may be the first test, and a test I would never pass, which is lighting these matches. But before we continue, just a quick thought. I don't know if everybody got a Siddur, a prayer book. It's like this, and if you didn't, they are on the table right outside the middle door. So with that, I'll ask everyone to please rise. Turn to page 22 for the Chatzi Kaddish, which will lead us into the Baruch Hu on page 24. continue on page 27. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. El Chai v'Kayam Tamid Yimloch Aleinu Le'olam Va'ed Baruch Atah Adonai Amahari V'Aravim. Top of page 29. As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me. Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Ve'aftecha tasir mimenu le'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. Shema, page 30. Shema Yisrael, Adonai. Page 32, Ve'ahavta.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele Asher Anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech uv'shachbecha uv'kumecha I got to figure out how to segue better from stands. Continue the middle of page 35. We read responsively. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love.
From bondage in Egypt, we were delivered at Sinai. We bound ourselves to your way.
Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces.
Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed.
Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then we will rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
From Shirat Hayam, the Song at the Sea, in the book of Exodus, Micha Mocha, page 36.
We couldn't very well have Stan as our guest tonight and not sing a little bit of Jew blues. And we have Jew blues tonight. It is Mi Chamocha, set to 12-bar blues, and there is a part for you to sing, and I will sing it with you, and once I do it the first time, you'll ace it, you'll know exactly what to do. So join us.
It's in the water, it's in the water, it's in the water, it's in the water, gonna carry us home. Pitching a tent in the heat of the day, dancing towards freedom, Miriam leads the way. It's in the water, 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 gonna carry us home. Water above us and water below, and water wherever we roam. Water within us and water without, and water to carry us home. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. Mi kamocha neda b'kodesh nora tehilo lo se vele. It's in the water, it's gonna carry us home. Chorus. Water above us and water below, and water wherever we roam. Water within us and water without, and water to carry us home. Standing at the Jordan with all who will go, crossing towards freedom, gotta go with the flow. It's in the water, 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 it's gonna carry us home. It's in the water, it's gonna carry us home. Like that. Like that.
V'nehemar Adonai Yaakov Yunizak Mimenu Baruch Atah Adonai Gal Yisrael. So it's important at the end of a blessing. It's called the Chatimah. It's like the seal of approval on the blessing. And you notice I do it at the end of like pretty long blessings. Tonight, it's the old George Gobel line. You feel like the whole world's a tuxedo and you're a pair of brown shoes. So there is a prayer that I pulled out of this wonderful Siddur from the Queer Synagogue in San Francisco. I meant to make copies, and I haven't, but we will. But in the meantime, I'm going to kind of move the words around a bit to change it from a responsive reading. But the feedback I got after the service was this reading was us. It was Kol Ami. So I think it is too, and I want to keep it. So When the world is about to crush us with all of its weight, we find safety here at Kol Ami. When people have been too cruel because of their ignorance, you can find compassion here. When our government tries to silence us, we find our voice here. When we feel a sense of helplessness during these uncertain times, peace is here. When loneliness slowly creeps into our lives like the evening mist, we find community here. When we feel isolated at times, there is comfort here. When friends seem nowhere to be found in the daily grind, good friends are here. When sometimes we lose sight of what we can do for the community, our purpose is found here. When we feel that family is scattered hundreds of miles away, we find the nearness of family here. When the cacophony outside is too much and we need to be soothed, there is beautiful music here. When we run around and take the simple things for granted, there is meaning here. And when we are gone and have left only our names, we know we will be remembered here. Baruch atah Adonai parei sukat shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael v'al Yerushalayim. On page 40, the prayer for Shabbat v'Shamru. Meditation on 130 leads us into the Amidah, the standing prayer beginning on page 132, and we rise.
Ufi agid tehilatecha.
Hananana Adonai. Hananana Sfatai Tiftach. Hananana Ufi Agid. Ufi Agid Tehilatecha. Hananana Adonai. Hananana Sfatai Tiftach. Hananana Ufi Agid. Ufi Agid Tehilatecha.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, V'koneh Hakol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, U'mevii kula livnei bneihem, L'man shemo be'ahava, Melech ozer u'moshia u'magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham v'Ezrat Sarah.
Page 134.
Atah
Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechaye metim atarav lehoshia, Morid hatol, Morid hatol. It's summertime.
It is summertime. Moed Hatav.
Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Mechaye metim berachamim rabim, Somech noflim verofei cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato, Lishenei afar, Micha mocha bal givrot, Umido melach, Melech meimit umechaye, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'nemanata l'chayot metim, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye hametim. You are holy, your name is holy, and those who pray are holy praise you every day. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh. Complete the remainder of the Amidah silently out of the words on the page from 140 through 153, or the words that are in your heart this Shabbat, and when you've completed the Amidah, you may be seated.
Chiri biri biri bim bim bum. Chiri biri biri bum. Chiri biri biri bim bim bum. Chiri biri biri bum. Chiri biri biri bim bim bum. Chiri biri biri bum. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom, Shalom, Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom, Shalom. Chiri biri biri bim bim bum. Chiri biri biri bum. Chiri biri biri bim bim bum. Chiri biri biri bum. Chiri biri biri bum.
So for those of you who haven't been with us weekday mornings, we do a Zoom service every weekday morning, 8 to 8:15. And from the second night of Pesach, of Passover, right up to Shavuot, which begins tomorrow night, we count the Omer. 49 days of the counting of the Omer, 7 times 7. It takes us, in agrarian terms, it takes us from the barley harvest to the wheat harvest. And since we weren't going to be gathering in space tomorrow morning to do day 49, I have the Omer counter here. This is a beautiful Omer counter made by Faye. You can check it out after the service. It's all glass beadwork that she made, everything she made. It's wonderful, and I wanted to have us do day 49 together, the last day of the counting of the Omer. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kedeshanu b'mitzotav v'tzivanu al sifrat ha'omer. Blessed are you, Adonai, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to count the Omer. Hayom tisha v'arba'im yom, shehem shiva shavuot la'omer. Today is the 49th, tonight and tomorrow, really, is the 49th day, which is 7 weeks of the counting of the Omer. You know, and we've started finding different ways really since we started doing the weekday morning service and kind of confronted a long stretch of pandemic, which, I don't know, feels like a brief respite, but I feel like the next variant is somewhere around the corner. But in the meantime, it's just good to see everybody. But we feel counting days has been important. It's been meaningful. It's making each day count and kind of struggling through difficult times together. So we'll now transition in our service, kind of from what we say to God to what God says to us with the reading of the Torah, and we turn to page 196 and we rise.
Ki mitzion tensei Torah, ki mitzion tensei Torah, u'devar Adonai Yerushalayim, Baruch
Shomama Shemo Yachdav.
Lecha Adonai Hagedula V'Hagevura V'Hatiferet V'Hanetzach V'Ha'od Tifo B'Shamayim U'Va'aretz Tifo B'Shamayim U'Va'aretz Lecha Adonai Lecha V'Minaseh Lechol.
Please be seated. This week's Torah portion is Parashat Naso. It is from the book of Bamidbar, the book of Numbers. Bamidbar meaning in the wilderness. We are in that stage in our existence that we're wandering in the wilderness. 40 years to really to kind of work through the generation that was enslaved and get away from a slave mentality. And we do so in the wilderness. The wilderness is a place of enormous challenge for us as a people. It is also where we get much and learn much, and particularly Torah. It begins with a continuation of last week's Torah portion, which was a counting of a census, which seems pretty dry, mundane, but taking a census really reflects how we look at others in our community, who counts, who doesn't count. And so for us, I think we take as an expansive a view as possible of census taking. We also have the wonderful priestly benediction, and that's the piece of Torah that I'll chant from this evening, the priestly blessings that we invoke often. And I think we seek out blessing often, and it reflects how we see power in blessing, community in blessing, and I think validation through blessing. It's a bit of magic to it. So those are both really important, but there are like another couple of pieces of the Torah portion that I wanted to focus on a little more strongly. The first is what is known as the sotah. It is, how do I put it? So when a husband is overcome by jealousy and accuses his wife of adultery, there is the sotah ordeal. It's a trial by ordeal where the wife is compelled to drink bitter waters. If her stomach becomes distended, then she is guilty, and if not, she is innocent. About the nicest thing I can say about this is that it's better than the Salem witch trials and the dunking ritual, and where you were dunked in the water, and if you drowned, you were not guilty. But if you didn't drown, you were guilty. This seems like a lose-lose proposition. So at least you had a fighting chance here. It is clearly sexist. It is clearly misogynistic. It comes out of a place of blind distrust, right up to a sense of conspiratorial mindset, I think. So that's one piece of the Torah portion. The other is the Nazarite Vow. If you took a Nazarite vow, you took a vow not to drink, you let your hair grow, you didn't cut it, there were other prohibitions, so you held yourself out to an ascetic lifestyle. But taking a vow was largely dissuaded because to break a vow was to engender distrust in the community. We always know it's vital, and the community knew even back then, if you're going to take a vow, it was vital to keep vows to create community, to create a sense of trust and not distrust. We know, and we know this today, if you think about the Kol Nidre prayer on Erev Yom Kippur, on Yom Kippur Eve, it says, for any vow I make on Yom Kippur, if I'm not able to keep it, I'm human, be nice to me anyway. Show mercy on me. So I thought about this and about, what we do that engenders trust and what we do that puts out a sense of distrust. And that seems to be the way of the world, or at least the way of our country these days, a place where distrust and engendering fear has become a go-to political strategy. politicians who see distrust and fear in the institutions they are actually elected to govern. So it seems like a bit of self-sabotage going on. And politicians who promote baseless conspiracies. So as citizens, and really as Jews, we're obligated to pursue truth and demand truth from those who represent us. And really, when we study Torah, it's our ongoing struggle and our ongoing search for truth. And it's never been more crucial than it's been right now in this moment in our history. So with that, we will have Torah blessings on page 200.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך. ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר בחר בנו מכל העמים ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen. Vaydaber Adonai el Moshe lemor. Daber el Aharon yabanav lemor. Ki devarchu et bnei Yisrael emor lahem. Yivarecha Adonai vishmarecha. Yer Adonai panav elecha vichunecha. Yasa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. Usmu et shemi al bnei Yisrael ve'ani avarachem.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Now comes the time when we think about those who can't be with us in community due to illness. We wish them rufuah shlema, rufat hanefesh, rufat haguf, a complete healing, a healing in both spirit and body. I'll go around the room, ask you to call out the names of those you know are in need of a blessing of healing, and then we'll recite the Mishnah Barak prayer for healing on the top of page 203. Okay, thanks. Thanks. Thank you. As the Torah is wrapped, we rise for V'zot HaTorah, bottom of page 203.
V'zot HaTorah, Asher Sam Moshe Lifnei Bnei Yisrael. Ani Adonai Kriyat Moshe. La 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 la, 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 la 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 la.
our Torah is an Eitz Chaim, a tree of life. Kila Kaktod leads us into Eitz Chaim, middle of page 206. Past week we observed the yortzeit of Jack Stern, father of Stan Stern. Anybody else observing a yortzeit or wishes someone's name to be remembered for Mourner's Kaddish? Kaddish Yatom, Mourner's Kaddish, page 221. Yikadal, V'yikadash, Shemei, Rabbah. Be'alma divrach yirutei, v'yamlich machutei, b'chayechon, v'yamechon, v'chayei, d'chol Beit Yisrael. Bagala v'zman kari v'imru. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam l'mei omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei d'kudisha brichu. Le'la min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbachata v'nechamata damiran be'alma v'imru.
Amen.
Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru.
Amen.
Oseh shalom bimromav. Hu yaseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. And let us say,
Amen.
please be seated. Our thanks for wonderful music tonight to our music director, Laura Steinell, to Karen Ingebretz and Brendan Howard, and our guest musician, Stan Kessler. Thank you so much for being here. Such a treat. We thank our AV team, our good friends here at All Souls, Miko Estra, Andrea Johnson, and newest member of the team, Haley Sylvester, along with Anthony Edwards, who's the Director of Music and Worship Arts here at All Souls, and my colleague and dear friend, Reverend Dr. Kendall Gibbons, the Senior Minister here at All Souls. I would be remiss if I didn't say welcome back, welcome home to our dearly beloved Roberta. It feels more like home when you're here. Coming up, tomorrow night, 7 o'clock at our house, we will be celebrating the holiday of Shavuot. It is a major Jewish holiday. And it'll be fun, and it'll be tasty. We'll have a little bit of a service. We'll have a lot of food. The traditional meal for Shavuot is a dairy meal, so we will be featuring a lot of good dairy items. And we'll do a little fun Torah study along the way as well. Starts at 7 o'clock. If you want to come and you have not RSVP'd yet to me, you can come up to me after the service and say, I'm coming, and we would be thrilled to have you. As always, during weekdays, 8 to 8:15 on Zoom, we do a morning service, a very short morning service with a little bit of study, a little bit of Jewish Book of Days by Rabbi Jill Hammer, a little bit of daily page of Talmud. And it's always a nice way to connect and start out the day with each other. Next Friday night, we will be out at Luce Park in the pavilion, which is on the east side of the park, near not next to, but very near the pond. We are excited to celebrate Shabbat outdoors and be together for that. So I urge everybody to come. I think it is bring your own picnic, bring your own Shabbos dinner picnic. So we'll do a little praying first, and then we'll celebrate with Shabbos dinner together. Anything else coming up? Anybody else? Okay. Be on the lookout in this ever-changing, challenging, oftentimes these days, distressful world. There is a lot going on. Kansas has an important ballot initiative taking away the constitutional right to abortion in Kansas, which portends taking away other rights. So a no vote on that is important. So those of you who live in Kansas, if anybody has not registered to vote, wherever you live, register to vote. It's our obligation as good citizens, and that's part of being Jewish. But it's really important when it comes to that issue. Things are moving, not fast enough, but they're starting to move on gun safety regulations. So I know they were out in Mill Creek Park from 4 to 7 today, and sorry that it was on Friday evening and we couldn't be there to support, but I know there will be other opportunities coming. I think there are like 300 plus cities that are organizing a march, I think June 11th. I could be wrong, but just keep attention to that. Pride is coming. Is that June 11th and 12th? 10th through 12th. Out at... Yes, absolutely. That's next weekend, and we definitely... It's convenient. I mean, it's right over here in Volker Park or Frank Tice Memorial Park, depending on how long you've lived here. Anything else? Okay. With that, a reprise of Hine Matuvi that'll send us out into the foyer for Kiddush and Motzi.
הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה